All right. Well, hello again to all the boys and girls out there in YouTube land watching. John and Nelly of Georgia Beer Reviews back at you today with a special live examination of Southern Tier Brewing Company's Pumking Imperial Pumpkin Ale. This is an 8.6% pumpkin beer. And joining me today is underground legend Michael Komaroff, world traveler, beer reviewer extraordinaire. Thanks for joining me, Michael.
Thank you for having me, John. This is exciting.
Now, you have had this beer. I did a review of the rum barrel-aged Pumpkin, which was 13.4%. And I believe it was aged 3 months in rum barrels, but I've never had the regular old Pumpkin, so pretty excited about it. And this brewery is actually up near you in Lakewood, New York.
It's actually in upstate New York, I think closer to Buffalo, which is really, if you look at New York State, it's probably as geographically far as it could be, but it shows you in a big geographical state. This would be like from where you are now, if you were going to right on the border of Tennessee in the north, about that kind of, maybe even further than that. Because you could get to Chattanooga in 4 hours from where you are, would you guess?
I would say, yeah, between 4 and 5 hours.
Okay, because Lakewood, New York, for me, would probably be closer to 7.5 hours. Because it's all the way in the far western part of New York State. I think New York State is actually bigger than Georgia, too.
Okay. Well, I gave mine a pour. It's got a nice 3.5 finger khaki colored head. It's a pretty light color. Most of the pumpkin beers that I've had are a little bit darker than this, but it is an orange color.
You got a little bit more aggressive pour than me. My head is a little bit smaller. Same color, though.
Right. So I'll let you go ahead and lead off with the aroma.
Okay. Well, the first aroma I'm getting is of spices. I can't describe it strictly as pumpkin, but spices, coriander maybe, or cloves. But your typical pumpkin kind of ale spices.
Yeah, it's a lot different than the other pumpkin beers like Blue Moon, UFO, even the Dogfish Head pumpkin ale. This is a lot different, I think.
And you're not getting any of the alcohol in the smell. In other words, sometimes when you have an imperial pumpkin ale or an imperial ale, you can actually smell the booze in it. This one you can't.
Right. Yeah, 8.6%. That's pretty.
Most regular pumpkin ales are usually in the 5.5%, maybe a little bit more. It's on the edge of being sessionable, and this one, 8.6 is an imperial pumpkin, so there's more substance to it. But can you smell any of the alcohol at all? Or are you just getting the spices?
No, there's no booziness at all with this. I'm getting the pumpkin pie spice and almost this character that I was getting with the rum barrel aged one, almost like a little wood note, which this one is not barrel aged. So there's something in there that they're adding that's a little different than the other pumpkin beers. Maybe it's more of like a butterscotch or a caramel note that I'm picking up with this one that I didn't really get with the other ones because they were so much more prominent with the pumpkin pie spice. This one, maybe I'm getting more barley malt or more of the malt, the caramel malt or something.
I'm getting that a little bit. To me, it's almost like a sweetness to it as well, like a sweet kind of smell.
Right. It smells really good, though. I'll give it, it's definitely a good smell. So,
are you ready?
Cheers. Let's get into it.
It does follow the nose.
It does follow the nose. It's a little bit sweeter, a little bit of that caramel. More of the caramels coming through. The pumpkin pie spices are definitely there. This is actually a lot like the rum barrel aged one that I had. It's just a little bit more sessionable, and it doesn't have that molasses sweetness that I was getting with the rum barrel aged one, which obviously was coming from the rum barrels. But it is very similar.
I like the way the taste does not overwhelm you. In other words, it comes onto your mouth and you taste it, and then it kind of settles out, and you still can taste it, but it's not in your face.
it doesn't have that lingering pumpkin pie spice note that you get with a lot of your standard pumpkin beers, I think.
I'm actually enjoying it.
Yeah, I'm really enjoying it. It has a little description here on the side of the label. I guess I'll read it for any viewers out there. Oh, Tyler's watching. Good afternoon, gentlemen. Good afternoon.
Hi, Tyler.
To you, Tyler. So it says on the label, it says, "Do we brew with magic? Taste and see. Pumpkin's complex, luscious, pie-like notes make this an otherworldly ale. One sip and you'll know why Pumpkin has worn the crown since 2007. Long live the king." And I just thought about something, Michael. You know what I'm getting with this one that I don't get with a lot of pumpkin beers is like a graham cracker note. That's what it is. You know, like with pumpkin pie, the graham cracker crust.
Right.
I'm getting a little bit of that with this.
Now that you mention it, I'm getting it too. It's like the crustiness on the pie.
Right.
The graham cracker crust kind of look to it. It's amazing that you could get that in with the hops and create that. You know, give some credit.
And I wish they listed the IBUs. Southern Tier is one of those companies that don't list the IBUs on the bottles, and I don't think they list them on the website either. But it is very malt forward, very sweet. I don't know, if I had to guess, I would say maybe between 20 and 30 just to kind of balance it out. But it's definitely not a bitter beer.
But the sweetness is not quite. In other words, it's not like it's so sweet. I'm sure you've tasted beers where it's so sweet you don't like it, and the taste just lingers and stays with you. This one, you get that nice taste. It holds a little bit, and then you want another sip.
Right. I think the reason it's not cloying is because the IBUs, even though we really can't detect them, they're probably up in the upper 20s, 30s just to balance it out. Otherwise, it might be a little too sweet. But it's a very balanced beer. It's very good. It has that graham cracker crust note that I don't pick up with other pumpkin beers. And like you said, that 8.6%, you're not picking up any alcohol with this at all. It's really impressive.
Whatever malts they're using too in this must be ones that are good companion malts with the hops, because they seem to marry very well. I agree with you. It's very well balanced. Seems like it's a good combination, and very easy drinking. This would be a dangerous beer if you went to a party and you have a 6-pack there. You wouldn't want to be downing these, because it doesn't taste. You can't. The alcohol is very well hidden.
Yeah, absolutely. What are you thinking about for rating for this beer?
Maybe about a 93. And I'm not willing to give it a world-class kind of thing where I'd go into the higher 90s, only because it just it meets all my requirements in terms of being an excellent pumpkin beer. It's just that I can't top end it. But it's certainly an A. It's an A beer. 93 or 94 is what I probably would give it.
I'm thinking I'm in there in the A range. I'm thinking probably closer to a 95. The rum barrel aged one, I gave that a 97 out of 100. I mean, that one was pretty much world class. And this one has a lot of the really good traits that the rum barrel aged one has. It's just less alcohol, and you don't get that extra wood presence and that molasses sweetness that you get with the rum barrel aging. But this one is still excellent, and which, by the way, that 13.4% rum barrel aged one, the alcohol with that one is also masked very well. So if anybody out there can find that, I would recommend trying that. You too, Michael. If you can ever get your hands on the rum barrel aged one, you should give it a try.
I haven't seen it, but something like this, John, you would buy again. You'd buy this this pumpkin ale again.
I would definitely buy this one again. I already have bought the rum barrel aged one again. I would buy this one again. As a matter of fact, I can buy a 4-pack at Kroger for $9.99. And I bought a single just to try it first time, but I think I will pick up a 4-pack next time I'm at Kroger.
That's a very good price. I got this as a gift from somebody, but that's a good price, because at the co-op, this would probably be over $2 for a bottle.
Right.
What maybe 225, 235, something like that. So that's a very good price if you can get it for 250 a bottle by just buying a 4-pack. Do you remember how much the rum barrel aged ones cost you?
The rum barrel aged one was the same size. This is what is this? Like a 20. Well,
It's probably a bomber, 22 ounce, I would assume.
500 milliliters. What is that? Oh, 1 pint, 9 ounce, so 16.
Right, so that's that's a little less than 17 ounces, just a little drop less than 17. See, now we have two different kinds of bottles. You notice mine's in a 12 ounce?
Right. Yeah.
And yours is
The
in
label
a
design looks a little different. Do you have the little background behind the orange there, the leaves?
Can you see it?
Oh, okay. I see the leaves now. Just I couldn't see it at first there.
And I got a little pumpkin with a crown on it on the other side.
Right. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely the price point is spot on for this, for what you're getting. I mean, and I can get, if anybody that lives near a Kroger that sells beer like this, if you have a Kroger card, it's free. You end up saving a lot of money. I probably save, if I buy the 4-pack, I think it's regularly $12.99 for the 4-pack, but with the Kroger card, it's $9.99.
That's really good.
So that's a heck of a deal. And Southern Tier overall, the company, I've had the 2 Pumking beers. We did an examination, I think, on Eric's channel. I had the Concord Grape Goza. I thought that was excellent. I've had the Thick Mint Stout. I thought that was excellent. So I think they put out great products. What about you? What other beers from them have you had? Do you think that
I've had good experience with them? I think, if I'm not mistaken, it was Southern Tier that had that. It was like 5 different beers in a 15-pack, which had, I'm trying to think what they were. Their IPA styles, which were different IPAs they made, and trying to think of the names. They're not coming to me, but I think it was all average plus with everything they were. There was nothing that was, maybe not their IPAs were not top end IPAs, but they were middle of the road plus IPAs. So there was nothing negative about them. And I think they all, to me, scored in the 80s anyway. And everything can score in the 90s. You can't have, every beer you try can't be world class. It just doesn't work out that way. But we've actually come across a lot of very close to world class beers, both in the examinations with Eric that we do on Friday and the ones you and I have done together also.
Well, and it's funny, a lot of people, I don't know, whoever's watching my channel, they may notice that a lot of the beers that I give ratings to, they're most of them are in the B to A range. Well, that's because I've had so many beers over the years. Since I started my channel, I'm buying beers that I know I like. So, I mean, I'm not going to buy crappy beers that I know are bad when I know there's a lot of good stuff out there that I can review. And Jay said this, you said this. Brewing is an art, but a lot of people are brewing excellent beers now. It's really almost difficult to brew something that's substandard because the processes and everything that we use nowadays are so refined, and the quality control has improved drastically over the last, 15, 20 years, especially with the craft breweries.
Right. And there are so many craft breweries now opening up day to day that in the long run, if they're not able to be successful quickly, they won't make it because there's a lot of competition now. And the point I before we were on the air about 6 Point is, which is my home company. They're in Brooklyn, but they brew in Memphis, Tennessee for their mass distribution, which they sell pretty much throughout the country, not in your area yet, but hopefully they will in the future. They have made this new decision to do these monthly things where they do these limited releases, but they're continuing to do their regular distribution in their whole national network. And I think in the long run, they will be a successful brewery because they're willing to go into all the different styles. They went into this New England IPA style now, which because they got this this brewer from Trillium, and he's doing that. And they still do the sours, they still do porters and stouts. So they're across the board. And that's important. And they do try with the market that I'm in to get the people to come to their brewery, which is in Red Hook, Brooklyn, for these monthly where they give the beer out to you, which you've paid for in advance by credit card, but they allow you to taste stuff on tap. With, there are kegs of the same stuff that they can. And yesterday when I went, some of those bean beers were amazing. I mean, I think it would have knocked your socks off. That's how good they were.
Now the 6 point, just to be clear, they have a bean series, but is it a 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6? How many different bean series
3,
are there?
4, and 5, but it seems like they varied the 4, because the 4 used to just be rye barrels. Now the one they just came out is rye and bourbon barrels. The 3 used to be their bourbon barrel beer. So I think they decided they were only going to do one more beside the 2 that they did that I told you about before, the horchata and the peanut butter beans. The horchata you would have gone wild. That's how good it was. And I don't know what they did, if it was lactose or what else they put in, because you couldn't just do horchata. There had to be stuff to base it out. But I'm not sure what they did. I didn't get to speak to anybody. But it was 13%, and it was another one of those really dangerous ones because it tasted like about 7. So you taste this and you can't taste the alcohol. It's like you can taste, there's alcohol in it, but you can't taste what it is. 13%, like you said, the other Pumking you had, which was also hidden. This one was very well hidden. You couldn't tell.
Right.
But I enjoyed the whole 6 point thing, and my wife goes with me, which is nice also. She's not as big a drinker, but she does like the more high alcohol things, and she liked those beers that we tried yesterday also. But it's sad that they can't hit the Atlanta market with some of their product. But I'll tell you what he said to me the other time when I spoke to him. He said, if we're having trouble with the markets we already have, we don't want to overexpand to the point we're going to have to cut people off who we already did it. That's what Dogfish Head did. They ended up getting rid of part of Tennessee and some other markets because they couldn't supply everybody with the amount of beer they're making. Some of these small Dogfish Head's not small now. They're fairly well established, but I guess they still have a certain capacity and they don't want to exceed that. And that's
right.
It.
And I'm pretty sure Dogfish Head, to a lot of people on the West Coast, it's a foreign. I mean, they don't get it out there. I don't think.
As a matter of fact, it's strong on the East Coast. You can get it probably anywhere from Maine down to. You can get Dogfish Head stuff where you are, right?
Yes, I can. And, I've had a lot of their stuff over the years, and I've always said that I think that Dogfish Head beers are overpriced.
No question.
For what you're getting, I think they're a little bit overhyped.
I am with you, but they do also make a quality product. So I agree, they're definitely overpriced.
They do, yeah. They have some really unique stuff. I had the Midas Touch. I don't know if you've had that one.
That's very good.
Saffron, and that one I believe is 12%. And that's one of the best beers that they make, if not the best beer that I've had from them.
Well, they're most famous for their flagship, probably, which is their 60-minute IPA. They also have a 75 and a 90 and a 120. So they have a full line of those beers. The problem with some of those beers, though, IPAs have come so far with all the other companies that it's very hard for those beers to compete. Those are older line from the original, I guess they would be considered East Coast IPAs, and they're good. Right? There's nothing wrong with them. It's just that I've gotten to the point now where my IPAs have expanded, where I guess I like the West Coast and the New England style personally better. I won't say that they're bad. They're just, I don't drink that many East Coast IPAs anymore.
West Coast, the pine, like the West Coast ones, like the piney,
dank, more citrusy kind of thing. And with this New England style, like we met another local beer company here, Other Half, which is another realm of things because they also can, but you have to wait online there. That's the difference between Other Half and 6 Point. You have to wait on a line. There's a limited amount. They limit how much you can buy, and it's at a higher price point than 6 Point.
Right.
It was more expensive than the peanut butter, though, and I decided that I probably should have bought one anyway, because when you're talking about a couple of dollars difference in the long run, it probably doesn't make that much difference. But I also have to keep in touch with how much beer I have, because I'm only me, and I drink except what I do when I have my Thursday get-togethers, when I do drink with a group. But the rest of the time, I don't want the beer to just sit in the refrigerator and just, some of it'll stay, the porters and the bigger, higher alcohol things. But some of the IPAs, once the hops start to fade, they're not as good. So I have to be more careful.
I think we're getting spoiled as a society with all these hoppy beers because maybe more so in your area where the New England style IPAs and the bit, you know, the companies like Six Point and Trillium are everywhere. You can pretty much get a beer that's like a week old or fresher, and that's not so much the case here. So it's really good. Like in your area, you can get these super fresh, right off the line, you know, IPAs in particular, because that's what you really got to be careful with. And that's pretty cool that we can do that now. 20 years ago, you know, most of the stuff would sit on the shelves for months, even years. We would never know about it. Getting better with the codes, the dates, and all that stuff.
Companies never dated it, or if they did put a date
people
on it,
didn't care because they didn't realize it even mattered.
Right.
Now people are like, if the hops aren't super fresh, it's not going to be right. We want it super fresh. We want that quality product out there. I think that's one of the reasons that craft breweries are doing so well, is that they're making sure that their product is fresh on the shelf, and if it's outdated, they're getting rid of it.
Eric has actually had some of the beers he's reviewed, and I think it was either Trillium or Treehouse, where he thought he had one too soon, and he thought it should have stayed in the can a little bit longer. He said it was so fresh that it was almost green. So when he had, I think he bought a 4-pack of something. So he had one very early, you know, like it was, he had it on a Saturday and it was canned on Wednesday. And he said he should have waited another week because then he had another one a week later. And he said it was starting to get better over time. So sometimes, right, when it goes in the can, that might be too fast. It depends what it is, I guess.
Maybe. But, I bet a lot more people wish they had that problem, though.
No, it would be nice. Now, with some of your more local stuff, like the stuff that's made in what's the company in outside Atlanta or at the university?
We've got like Sweetwater. I can get Sweetwater beers that are a couple weeks old.
Okay, so you at least can get that, but it's still not. It's not as constant as what we have going here.
Right. It seems like you know, up in the New Jersey, New York, Massachusetts, it seems like those areas, they're a little bit more focused on promoting the beer and then having all these little release parties, and then of course selling the beer super fresh and I think they market it a little bit better up there. You never hear anything about Sweetwater. We know it's a local brewery. They have events every so often, but they don't promote them really well. So I just think they do a better job up the East Coast than they do here in Atlanta.
Well, I was telling Eric, I think last week or the week before, that a lot of people get on the lines at Other Half to get the beer just to trade for Treehouse or Trillium, because the other people up there do the same thing and wait on the lines. So that it's kind of like a mutual admiration of all the different breweries, and they'll trade like a 4-pack of Other Half for a 4-pack of Trillium. And in that way, you keep the beers from Massachusetts get to New York and vice versa. And I've been on those lines a couple of times. I guess I'm to the point now where I don't like waiting on lines if I can help it. And I don't like going alone. If I can get somebody to hang out with me to talk to while I'm on the line, then I'm willing to do it. Like this friend Doug that I have, or Giant Space Monkey, who you've heard to refer to because he knows Jay, and that's how I met him. Wow. He's waited on the line, but he has a 2-year-old child now, which has kind of put a little crimp on his ability to get out. Weekend. Always on the weekend. It's on a Saturday.
Right.
So if he's going to do anything with me, he's going to do it during the week. He's not going to do it on the weekend. And he's able to do it by getting his work done during the AM, and then he'll see me in the afternoon and we'll do some beers and that kind of thing. But it's been rough this year because he's in like a retail setting, and until Black Friday this week, he's been too busy to get together. But he comes to the Thursday ones that I do at the beginning of the month also, so I do usually get to see him. But remember, I was in Europe for 6 weeks, so I didn't do two of my things, and I'm happy to be back because everything gets back into a more normal, normalcy in what we're doing. But the holidays came really fast. I came back October 22nd, and this Thursday's Thanksgiving. So it's kind of, what do you do for Thanksgiving?
Well, I'm working Thanksgiving, and then I'm going home. We're going to see my folks over the weekend, and we're doing Thanksgiving on Saturday.
Oh, that's nice. You get to see your parents in Alabama, which is nice.
Right. Yeah. If I was going to take off this week, I would have to try to drive home for Thanksgiving and then drive back and work Friday. So I just figured I'd work straight through the week and then do Thanksgiving over the weekend.
Right. This is easier for you because this way they have coverage on Thanksgiving, which is probably hard to get. People don't like to work on the holiday, and that makes it
exactly.
Work. I've been retired 12 and a half years already. So for me, I'm in kind of a good spot. And my wife's been retired almost 5 years. So everything is working out and whatever. We have to think of another thing that we can both get, in the next couple of weeks. Maybe we can do another one of these.
Well, yeah, we can do. I still would like to do that Lithuanian beer. I don't know if I can get the 14, 16% stuff anymore, but I'm pretty sure I could still get the Lobster Lovers, which is from the same company as the Crazy Brew.
Right. And also look for the Now and Then, which is a 12% one, which is also from the same company. I don't know if you've ever seen that one or not. It has faces of different women. So in other words, it's a woman's face is Now, another one is Then. And that's another one that they make that's less than the, what is it, 14%, the top end that you can get in Georgia? Legal.
Yes, 14%.
It shows you've had the other one, so that means they weren't checking on these.
Right. I might still be able to get it in the one in North Atlanta, but the one in Riverdale.
I haven't been back to that one yet.
Right. Yeah, I went to the Super H Mart in Riverdale, and they didn't have any of the ones, any of them. But the one in Atlanta, I'm pretty sure they still have the Lobster Lovers one. I don't know if they had the higher ones, but I'll find out probably next week. Well, actually, probably the week after, because next week being Thanksgiving and everything, it's probably going to be pretty crazy. But
we can also do it in December. If November is quickly going. The 22nd is Thanksgiving. Then you got one more week, and that's it. And then it's December. Christmas is only a month and a half away, or a month and a week away. So once December gets rolling, then it seems like it's the holidays, and 2019 is not that far away if you think.
That's right.
I'm excited. I'm having another get together 2 weeks from Thursday, also with my regular group. The first week in December, and that'll be interesting because this is kind of like I want the other people who didn't come in November to return. And I like to open up the table and have my full group in, because then I can take out some of my 25.4 ounce bottles and use more of my use two cans or 2 bottles instead, and then everybody gets enough. People always bring beer. It's not like I'm the only one providing it, but what I've always done is I'm ready to provide even if people don't bring it. It's not a pressure thing where you must bring something. People are usually pretty good about coming with something, but if they don't, it's okay. I'm like I also do chips and salsa and water for everybody. Water is very important for hydration in these things, because we usually do a lot, 12, 13, 14 beers, and sometimes high alcohol ones too. But they've been enjoyable. It's a very high level of people who are all at least knowledgeable. Now, everybody's not the same level, but they're all willing to learn, and some of them joke about it. Now I'm doing it all where nobody talks in advance. The early ones I used to do, we would just go around and everybody would give their ratings. But then people complain that maybe their rating might change depending on what somebody else says. So now I'm back to the old thing where I go 1, 2, 3. Everybody calls out their numbers, and then I ask and write it into my scoring book and whatever. And that's the best way, because then whatever your initial thing is, I'm not telling you can't change it. I guess you could change it if you thought right after that it was different, but you can't change it 10 minutes later. Once it's down, and it's official. And that's it.
Right.
All these numbers is a subjective basis of what you think the beer is anyway. So I also, if there's a 2-point variation from the rest of the group, I exit out.
Toss it out.
That's my own prejudice, because if somebody is too full, we're going 1 to 10 in our rating. So if the average seems to be about 8 and somebody goes 5, I just decide it's like an outlier, and I just cut that number out. Because otherwise you're being unfair to the beer. If you're dealing with 10 people and somebody is that far off, what some people would say is that's not fair. If you want everybody's ratings to be in, you should count it. But I'm just using my own creative
Well,
life.
yeah, I mean, if you have 10 people and everybody gives it between like a 7 and a 10, and then one person gives it a 2.
I know. you have to assume that that person's dislike has to be based on something other than what you'd normally expect in beer drinkers. That's the only reason I would do it. If it's an aberration, that's the only time I cut it out. If it's not way off, I don't. In other words, I wouldn't do it for 1.5 points. It has to be 2 full points before I'll even consider it. And it's an individual decision. I haven't done it very often. Sometimes the ones at the beach club, we have an old woman who does it sometimes. She's like close to 90 and she still does it with us.
Wow.
She takes a really small amount. And sometimes she really hates it. So she'll give stuff 3s and 4s. And I write her number down. And then when we're finished, I exit out. But she still takes part and she will give 8s and 9s too. So if she likes it, this is one of my mother's friends who just happens to be somebody who I like. And she has a son who lives in Massachusetts who sometimes sends her beer, which is amazing, which she brings as part of the deal. And I like her. She's fine. And she does whatever she can to do it. She drinks very little because she, in the past, she had to drive. Now she's given up her car, so it almost doesn't matter. She takes Accessoride now. Maybe she can drink more because she doesn't have to worry about it. But I don't think she's a big drinker anyway. She drinks very little. She's the type of, she's going to have one beer, it would have to be over a really long period of time. But I enjoy doing those beer tastings. They're a lot of fun. And that's something else. If you had closer friends around where you lived, you could do a little mini tasting. But the problem you have is probably in your neighborhood, there aren't that many beer drinkers who you would know, who you could, solicit to join you.
Right. And even my friends, back in Alabama and even Columbus, Georgia, where I lived before I moved out here, a lot of them are drinkers. We go out and drink and stuff, but they're not interested in doing the ratings and really like breaking down a beer, stuff like that, which is one of the reasons I like doing the videos and the hangouts and stuff, because I really don't know people in my daily, my day-to-day life that like to do that type of stuff.
Right. When I used to have this, there used to be a place not far from me called Beer Craft. I think I've mentioned it before, where every Tuesday they would have a free beer tasting. The kind of small little pill. It's a little plastic container, like you'd put pills in. It's a little small, maybe 1.5 ounce thing. That's all they would give you, but they're giving it for free. So what could you say of maybe 5 or 6 beers, and you just whatever, and they would hope that you'd like the beer enough to go up, and they'd have stuff on tap, and you'd buy it. And that was the rationale to get you there. That was my first I mean, I was into beer before, but that was my first mass introduction. My wife started coming, and it became a social thing. But they went out of business. And it's funny how New York real estate being so hot hurts you, because they were able to sell the building. Remember, when you run a regular business, it's retail. You have to be there a lot of the time. Here, the people who own the building were able to sell it. Now it became a restaurant. And you can't, when real estate is so valuable, you can't really have it as a beer emporium kind of thing unless you could make X profit. And I guess restaurants make more money than beer places. But I miss it because I really enjoyed going. It was a regular thing. So I've tried to replace it with the ones I do and the individual ones I do. But I guess everything is never the same, and stuff has to, rotate out, and you grow and whatever. But I like this pumpkin a lot.
Yeah, I do too. We'll go ahead and wrap up the live examination, take this off air. So I think we both agree that Southern Tier Pumking is in the A range. And
sure,
as a brewery overall, I think they make pretty good products. I haven't had anything from them that I've been displeased with. So I'm looking forward to trying some more of their beers.
I agree, they're a plus. And they also seem to be willing to be like a full line thing where they're into all the styles. I don't think they make a sour as far as I know, but they do almost everything else.
Well, they do the Concord Grape Goza
that's the one you said, which is kind of a sour. Okay, that's kind of like a tart sour more than, but that's on the edge of a sour. Okay, that's a sour, then that would count for sure. So have a happy Thanksgiving.
Yes, you as well, and thank you to everybody out there, Tyler, and anybody else that might be watching. Thanks for tuning in. That'll do it for this live examination of Southern Tier Pumking. I hope you all enjoyed, and
thank you for having me. Cheers.
You're very welcome. Thanks for joining me. And until next time, everybody, cheers.